Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Mystic Sisters. I'm Sarah and this is Kelly, and each episode we talk about magical and spiritual topics, and in today's episode we're talking about protection and spells, because for this month of October we're going to look at witchy themed topics, and we can find ways to protect ourselves in nature. They are herbs, spices, fruits that we can use in cooking or in spells to help us to bring protection. For instance, a lot of people use sage or rosemary in protection spells. There are people who will burn rosemary or sage and use this to clear out negative energies from the home and also from the aura as well. And also apples as well can be used in protection, and Kelly's going to talk to us about this now.
Yeah, apples right now, I'm very drawn to it so much that I actually have like an apple spice tea that has like apple and cinnamon mixed in it. But apples are they're good for like healing too. They're good for your body. They can help different ailments. But it's like the apples are like the first thing that was here on earth, and there's so many different ways you could use them. If you're going to do spells, you can actually cut them. It's good to see that 5-pointed star, and you can actually put some outside around your place. You could like bury them in the ground for protection. The seeds are even good. I use them in my place. You could use the seeds for protection. You could do different apple spells for like love or money, but never, when you're doing anything for love, never do it for a specific person, because that's not, you don't have power over anyone, and you never want to do that anyways, because it'll just backfire. So if you want to just bring love into your life, you could do that, or abundance, you could do it, but it's always like for the highest good whenever you do spells. But yeah, you could easily, I know people like when I took a Reiki class, one teacher told me she would just tell people to cut an apple in half, make a wish for either like money or love, and throw it in the water, like out in a river or something. But if you don't want to do that, you could do it at home. You can have a nice little bowl and maybe put some water in it. You could put other elements, maybe besides an apple. You can even put like a little candle in there. I like working though with all the elements. I wouldn't just do a couple. I would try to incorporate all of the, like earth, air, fire, and water. If I was to do something, I've worked with water before, but mainly when I do stuff, it's more or less for money, abundance, or something like that. That's what I mainly do stuff for. But if I was ever to do love, like I've tried it in the past, it's never for a specific person ever. We never know. We think we know what we want, or we think we want a certain person anyways. And who would want to be bind to somebody if you're not sure? Because that's probably not even in your highest good a lot of times. Like we think we want something, and then we find out like what someone's really like. But anyways, back to like herbs. I love working with apples. You can even put apples in a circle, like either like a pentagram, or you could do it like with the 4 elements and sit in the middle and maybe have a fifth one in there and use earth, air, fire, water, and ether. So that's something else you can work with. That would be something kind of cool, like having apples as like a protection spell. You could do that with. Cinnamon's good. I've got cinnamon sticks I work with. I like putting them in jars as protection around my place. And you can even do something, you can even make people, I've seen them make like little mojo bags. I've done that before. You could put like you could get a little protective bag, and I put things in there like maybe a bay leaf, a cinnamon clover, some crystals, like protective crystals, like maybe obsidian or shungite or something like that, and then have like a little bag with you. You can put whatever you want in a bag and just carry it with you for protection. I've done that before. I always have something on me. Our Mother Mary charms. There's always some kind of protection symbol that I have either in my place or like in my car. Wherever I go, I have something with me. And another nice thing about that is you can use those things as well, like those tools. Some of it can be used as grounding, because a lot of times when we get into our upper chakras, or we're getting into our head too much, we forget to ground and we get anxious. And it's good to grab something physical to get you back in the moment. So maybe grabbing that crystal, an apple, taking a bite out of an apple, or just doing something physically to ground you back in the moment when you can't get out of it yourself. If you can't get into a grounding meditation, you can't get outside and you're stuck somewhere inside, grab a crystal, grab something that you can relate to that feels protective of to you, because whatever feels protective to you, use it. Some people like coins, or even like a four-leaf clover, because back in Celtic times they would have like clovers and things, they would put them on as protection as well. So that's another good one to use. What do you think about different symbols, Sarah?
One symbol I like using is the evil eye. I've got an evil eye that's hanging by the door in my house, and that will protect your home from any negative energies that will be around. And these are quite commonly used. You can purchase ornaments, decorations with the evil eye on it, and also people use the pentagram for protection as well. Sometimes they may draw a pentacle where they're doing their spell work. They may sometimes people draw the pentagram if they use on a candle, or they may draw it around them, or crystal grids. They may put their crystals in the shape of a pentagram for protection. Also, there's the Celtic knot shield and the Merkaba as well that people will use for protection. Some people will visualize themselves inside a Merkaba when they're meditating to help them protect their energies.
That just reminded me of the lotus that I saw, like a lotus symbol. I'm also drawn to that. Spirit showed it to me. They were telling me to pretend that envision myself that I'm in a big lotus and it's wrapping its petals around me. So lotuses are good for like protection and healing at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, also trees are very protective, and we can visualize ourselves as a tree. We can visualize roots growing from our feet to help anchor us into the earth. And the act of grounding, visualizing grounding, it protects our energy, helps us to feel grounded and centered into our bodies. Because often when we do spiritual work, we can feel quite spaced out. We can feel disconnected from our body, and it is important that we are grounded into our bodies, so we're not vulnerable to other energies entering our bodies. So grounding is very important. So before I do my spiritual work, I do a grounding and protection meditation where I'll visualize myself in a forest, and I'm walking through the forest, and I'll see myself as I'll see roots growing from the soles of my feet, and I'll call on my angels, my spirit guides, to protect me. And I visualize a golden bubble that's come from the sky, and the bubble comes closer, and I walk into the bubble, and I know that I'm protected and safe inside the bubble.
That's a good idea too. The fairies you told me before about the golden bubble, and the fairies were mentioning that to me about the golden bubble as well, to keep using that. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Do you use any grounding or protecting techniques?
I try to do the same thing like you mentioned, like the tree, envision myself like I'm a tree, or roots coming out of me, like I'll envision that. But I got the feeling, when you were talking too, like if you don't have time, like sometimes I can't visualize because I get these headaches sometimes. And I was just being drawn to like maybe hold an acorn or something earthy that I have inside, like an acorn or a pine cone, to feel connected to the earth. And sometimes I'll just grab something, because it's when we use our senses, we can bring ourselves back in the moment too. Like, so I'll do that to ground myself. A lot of times too, if I'm really having trouble visualizing, I'll grab aromatherapy oil. My go-tos now are like Victorian rose, like a rose oil I have, that'll snap me right in the moment because it's high vibrational too, or patchouli, because patchouli is very grounding, or like even frankincense. So sometimes I'll grab like an aromatherapy oil if I'm busy and I really can't, and I'm in pain because of a headache and I can't think. I'll just have like the aromatherapy on me and ground myself like that. Or I'll just start like grabbing one of my bracelets or crystals with me, and that can help ground me. Or doing a meditation, like watching meditations, maybe like watching one online if you really are having trouble trying to visualize. Sometimes I'll just watch one online, or, worst case scenarios, if I'm really not feeling good and I'm having trouble, I'll just call in for backup. I'll call in my spirit guides, archangels and stuff, to ask them for protection and stuff to help me. There's something about, I forgot about this. I heard it years ago. There's something about Archangel and his 100,000. There's 100,000, 100,000, 100,000 angels he has. Because I was watching some Archangel Michael meditation last night, and it's saying you can call on him and his 100,000 angels. And I'm like, yeah, I got 100,000 angels right now. I feel good. It snapped me right out of it. I'm like, whatever happened, I got 100,000 angels around me and Archangel Michael. Try me now. Because I was feeling like people's negative energy. So I was like calling in all the angels and everything. And I just, all of a sudden, I felt empowered. I was like, wow, whatever was going on, it's gone now. But how about I have to get back to this because this is funny. We were talking about this before the podcast, but people out there making spells and making actual sprays, like sex sprays, to call on a dead celebrity while you're having sex.
Yeah, because a lot of people who do things like this, they don't really know what they're doing and they're not protecting their energy. Also, people using love spells as well to call in different people, and they don't always know what they're getting. So it's very important that you are respecting the free will of others, and also protecting yourself, because when you're bringing in these different energies or attracting someone that may be not for your highest good, then this can cause a lot of problems.
Exactly, because that's another thing that, Spirit was telling me. Me and you were talking about that before the podcast. Like someone that I know, a woman was doing that to someone, and you can't do that. And then it backfires, and then people wonder why. Like, whoa, why is this so explosive? Why are we fighting all the time? Well, you probably shouldn't have went online and tried to get a love spell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand that kind of stuff. Like, why would you want that? Because why would you want it to? Because they always backfire. That's like that's 101 witchcraft right there.
Yeah, that people don't realize how many problems it can cause, because we attract people that are on our wavelength, people that are for our highest good, but you may call in someone then who's not on your wavelength, someone who may bring, they may have a lot of issues that they got to work through, and you may be bringing them into your life. You've got to be very careful on the energies that you're calling in, and some people, they don't really know what they're doing, and this can lead to problems then.
Yeah, because it not only that, it's like it backfires on them in their life. It'll lead all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Same thing with that sex spray. I can't believe that one. Like, why would you call on a dead celebrity for sexual purposes? It's like to try to attract sex. Well, you're attracting that spirit in there. It's like inviting someone else.
Yeah, it's very vulnerable, and you're calling in a different energy that you don't know, and into intimate scenario and you're not protected properly.
Exactly. Like, seriously, what if what if the spirit took over your mate's body? Let's just hope you call that a good celebrity, like Jim Morrison. No, don't call him him. But I'm just saying, it's just like, what if it did? The spirit just kind of takes over the person's body and
like possession.
Can you imagine? Because there's sprays out there, they're making them for like Michael Hutchins, and yeah, he's so hot, like he really is. But at the same time, you're asking for a celebrity to come in and be in the room. I'm just saying, how do you know they're not going to want to participate? Now you're having ghosts.
This is why it's so important that we got to protect our energy, protect our auras, make sure we center our energy, because it can be so easy to attract these different energies, and they may not be right for us. We've got to be careful with the energies that we're working with, and
it's true. And couldn't, like, if they're calling in that and they're using a certain spray that somebody else made, and they're trying to call on a specific person, but you're doing it in invocation, you could attract somebody else, right?
Yeah. It's important that, because I think the problem is people selling sprays, you've got to be very careful, because some people may buy them, don't really know what they're doing, and so it is the responsibility, well, for the seller to give an explanation, and also for the buyer to read up on what they're doing, and to be very careful, because sometimes people can come into this with negative intentions, and some people may want to call on this celebrity's energy for negative purposes. So you've got to be very careful and know what you're doing. Yeah, it's I think it's much safer to buy protection sprays as well. I think protection sprays are a good idea. You can, because there are lots of sellers online, like websites like Etsy, and they sell protection sprays, and I think that's a very good idea when you're working spiritually. And these aura sprays, they use sage, rosemary, cinnamon, protective herbs, and using these sprays, you can protect your home, protect your aura, and they'll help you during doing your spiritual work, if you're meditating, casting spells. So I think some sprays are a good idea, protection sprays, but there are some very strange sprays out there.
Seriously, though, you're right. Like, a protection spray would be good, but a sex spray, no.
I think it's trying to spray to attract more love, more positive energies, but I think sex spray is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, maybe to attract like more love in your life or something like that. But yeah, inviting a spirit in while you're having sex probably isn't the best idea. Now that I brought this topic up, I have to say it, and I probably shouldn't, but I have to ask this. You've seen online, you've heard about other people talking about it. Is it even true that people could have sex with a ghost? I just have to know. I mean, if she's talking about it, like, there's women out there, they're talking about these sprays, they make them, and they're inviting people in. Is there a chance?
I have seen stories about people claiming, it's not something I've really looked into, but I've seen some
I don't know. We talked about sex sprays and spirits. I was just wondering. Don't mind me. I'm just losing it over here. No, yeah, I think I just opened a whole can of worms now.
Yeah. But it's a good idea to talk about some of the negative stuff that's out there that we gotta really protect it because there are a lot of good witches and white witches who work with positive energies, and but then there also are some negative people out there that maybe don't have the best intentions. So you've got to be very careful with who you're working with. If you're buying a spell, make sure if you're buying a spell or spray, it's with someone who's a white witch, someone who's positive.
I love how you said though how you worded it, because it's funny the way you worded it. When I went to Salem, there's actual witches now that are in Salem. So I went to Salem a few years ago, and they said just exactly the same words you used. Always be careful, but the way that you worded it is how they worded it. Always be careful of who you're around or who you buy things from, because there's a white witch. But then they went to counteract and say, there's no such thing as a dark witch. That's something else. That's like demonic or evil, because they don't believe anyone in witchcraft like would actually, because most of them are healers. So they're like, they've never really encountered that. They believe it's something dark. If you're not working for the highest good, then you're dark in general, like maybe like evil or something else. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, there are some people with negative intentions, and it makes the good witches look bad. Then and make people think that all witches are bad because of people with negative intentions. But there's lots of witches that do a lot of good and are very often white witches very connected with the earth and want to heal nature as well as people. Yeah, when I think of witchcraft, I really think of the earth and people that love the earth and love nature. And so, like a lot of witches, they'll use natural things in their healing, like cinnamon. You want to talk about cinnamon?
Yeah, that is true. Like, I like using cinnamon. Actually, cinnamon right now, it's funny how we use that spice because it's a protective spice. We always think of fall and cinnamon, but I really I've got this apple tea with a cinnamon spice in it. It's so good. It's really good putting cinnamon in things. It's healing, but it's also good for protection. Like, I have my cinnamon sticks out. Cinnamon sticks go great to add in the tea as well, but you can use them for protection. I have them in cute little jars in my place, and you can like spice up your foods and things. You can put more like desserts, but apples and cinnamon right now are like the perfect combination. They're very healing. It's a very powerful combination to use them together, like for your body and nourishment and everything. So that would be really healing, but also like protective around you. So that would be a really good one to do, to use like the combination of like apples and cinnamon together, but back to what you were saying, like even the word witch has such a bad rap, because of back in the day, the fear with the witch hunts, and it all stemmed from men being afraid of women, being afraid, and they put the word witch, and like if you were to look it up or Google it, you see some scary person, and it's all from fear, and it's just women just being healers. That's it. That was just women being healers, and that was it. Like you said, in tune with the earth. And then these men came out and did all these killings and saying that women were bad and they were witches and they worked with the devil, and then they made it to something that it never was, and there was all these lies around it, to the point where people, you hear the word witch or witchcraft and they're just like, stay away. It's to the point where I saw on one person, this was recent, I saw on a person's Facebook, and I felt very offended because I love Halloween, and the person had something from they said that the House of Satan, I don't even know what they were talking about, the House of Satan or something, was saying that never to wear a Halloween costume on Halloween because it's really Satan, something about swapping souls. I never even heard of it was the stupidest thing I ever heard of in my life. And I'm like, if you believe everything you're told, you're an idiot, you know? And that's just coming from my heart. It's like, how can you not dress up for Halloween if you really want to do that because of some idiot that doesn't know what they're talking about? Like, really?
Well, Halloween, in Celtic, ancient Celtic beliefs, Halloween was the end of the year. It was the end of going into the dark season, the dark half of the year, and Halloween celebrates a time where the veil between us and the spirit world is at its lowest and is at its thinnest, and it's about celebrating our memories of our loved ones in spirit. And it's been twisted over the years, and people have changed the meaning, and they've associated spirits with scary things rather than our loved ones. There's a lot of people who are fearful of the spirit world. They don't understand it, and they just has been twisted. So it's all about scariness, and it's really sad.
It is sad. It's so sad when people do that and make it into something that it's not, and then that fear goes over to them, which that's exactly what the dark wants, or the Illuminati, or the bad energies out there. That's what they want. They try to put the fear in us, and they try to scare us. But you're right, it is about our loved ones. Like, it's our ancestors, our soul family that's in spirit. It's everyone that's passed over, so it's a nice way to remember them, or one of your favorite celebrities that died or something. It's just a nice way to remember someone you cared about. So that does make sense. It's that's how it used to be celebrated, and it just got turned into something else that it's not.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Mystic Sisters. We'll be back again next week with another podcast.